Hi, in this video, I want to give some pointers on Photoshop that are really geared toward our project. In particular, I want to talk about resizing, I want to talk about cropping, I want to talk about adjusting color, and I want to talk about exporting. So let's take a look at Photoshop. Here we are in Photoshop, and the first thing that I would point out is this is a very large image. We're currently looking at it only at 33% size, and you can see its pixel dimensions are 6,000 by 4,000. So it's way bigger than we're going to need to make our slideshows, which are going to be in a frame that maybe is at 720 resolution, maybe is 1,000 by 1,000. It's up to you, but it's not going to be 6,000 by 4,000. That's way too big, bigger than our screens, bigger than anything. So the first thing we want to look at is resizing this photo, and I want to give you a couple options. So know that for straight resizing, up under image, there is image size. And this is just a simple dialog that will let you either set the exact pixels, so you can use this pull down to go to pixels, and then you can type in exactly what you want, say 1500, and it will resize both. You can also put this to percentage. Oh, now we wound up with 1500%, which we don't want, but we could do, say, 50% and reduce by half. And now we're at 3000 by 2000. 3000 by 2000 is about as big as you want to work in Premiere Pro, still giving you some room to move that image around in the frame. But I'm actually going to cancel this because I want to show you the crop tool, which is going to be more useful for an image like this. So in this image in particular, if we go up to 100%, we see a lot more of the image, and we see that it really features this woodpecker, which is probably what we want to actually show. So if I get the crop tool out, I can also reduce size by giving us a crop here. And you can see as I'm dragging, you get the relative widths. This is still a pretty large photo, 1600 pixels across. And we can center that up or put it on the rule of thirds, and we can sort of reframe or create the photo that we really want to work with. And my recommendation here is that you have a good idea of, am I working in a square frame? Am I going to use widescreen? What am I going to do? And then you go a little larger. So if we wanted to work at 720 resolution, I would probably get this somewhere in the low thousands to work with. And we'll bring this into Premiere Pro in a bit. So know that you've got some extra tools within the crop tool. You see that I can set this if I want. I can set it to a square and make all my crops a square. I can even I can make sure it stays the same size that it is, the same ratio. So keep the original ratio of the photo, which is often the default and quite useful. I can even, if I want, set this with custom height and width resolution. So I can go in here and set numbers, 1500 by 1000 at 72 pixels per inch. And then whatever I do, it's going to resize to be that exactly. The choice I want here is really just the one it starts with. Let's keep it in its original ratio. And I'm just going to draw the box out to a size probably a little bigger than I actually wanted. And you can see, I'm going to be in the thousands, medium to low thousands when I do it. You can see that in the pull down. Okay, so that's good. And then you notice that I can check or uncheck delete cropped pixels. So I'm actually going to uncheck that. I'm going to leave all those pixels in the document in case I want to go back and reframe it. I'm not actually deleting any pixels if I uncheck that box. So crop tool, very powerful. That's scratching the surface for this particular image, what we want to do with it. I'm going to go ahead and accept the crop right up here with this checkbox. Okay, so now we have a more comfortably sized image, 1750 by 1166. Actually, it's a little small for me. I think I'd like to have it at least bigger than the just a little bigger on that 1166 size. I'll do an undo and go back to it one more time and draw that out just slightly larger. It's better to be a little larger than a little smaller when you go into Premiere Pro. So a little larger than that. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable. I just want that height up above the 1280 in case we want that resolution. Okay. Okay, something like that. And we accept the crop. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is tweaking the colors. And this is a lesson that, frankly, has gotten a lot easier in the world of Instagram. So there's a number of ways to do this as well. And I would encourage you to experiment. Couple to look at and worth trying. Up under image, you have a couple autos: auto tone, auto contrast, auto color. I often like to sort of see what these are doing and then undo them often just to see what kind of effects it would do auto. So auto contrast, yeah, better, deepens the blacks. I'm gonna undo that, just see what it does. Maybe auto tone. Also a nice effect, definitely better, definitely an improvement. I think I can probably do better on my own, but these are available. Auto color, all having a positive effect. The one I like a little better is down here under adjustment layers. See that create new fill or adjustment layer? And these are all the types of adjustments you can make. And again, some of these are going to be just familiar from the world of Instagram. So I can do, for instance, brightness contrast and start to give this a little more contrast. Play with the brightness. The thing I really like about adjustment layers as a way to do this is they stay live down here. There you see, there's my brightness contrast adjustment, and I can turn it on or off with that eyeball down here in the layers palette. So I like that because you can try different things and sort of do a, better, worse effect. So there's a number of these. Hue saturation. The one that I find exciting and I would encourage you to experiment with is curves. And for a while, curves sort of intimidated me, and then I got comfortable with it, and now it's my favorite way to do it. So the idea with curves is you have this mapping of input to output, right? So as you start, you have a straight curve, and whatever's coming in is unadjusted. But you can use this to different points on the scale to put points in and make adjustments. And then you can use these tools further to edit it in different ways. And the tool I really like is this finger up down. So you can select that and then just go to your image and find like that dark on the tail feather. And I want to deepen those blacks. So I'm going to drag that down. And you see, give it a little more space here. You see I'm editing the curve, and I can further edit this dot and micromanage it. And then if I want, I can get a little more brightness up here in the feathers. And again, because I still have my other one in there, my brightness contrast. Oh, I think I want to do more with the curves. In fact, I didn't realize I had that one on. So I'm going to reset it. I've got these good tools here. I could reset it back to the defaults. Let me just take another stab at that. So a little darker in the tail feathers, a little brighter on the breast there. And then you get to see, okay, do I like my curves myself, or do I like the one I did with brightness contrast? I think the curves are doing pretty well for me. And then I might I'd be careful with saturation. I want to see what it looks like, but that red is going to get really bright really quickly. So let's try a little hue saturation. Just a little bump it up. And again, you can look at it and say, is that helping? Hue saturation, subtle, but I think I like it. And now I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of both our crop and our color retouching. I think this is a nice photo to go ahead and bring into our slideshow now. So the last thing to do here is to save properly. And I just want to point out a few things. Right now, we're just editing on our JPEG. So because we've done some sophisticated work here, I'm going to recommend you save a Photoshop document, which is going to allow you to keep all of these live and go back later and make adjustments. So that's just going to be a save as. And you want to make sure that you have selected the Photoshop file type. And then you give it a name. And you can save your PSD. I think I'll do it to my desktop, although I recommend that you stay organized and have a folder called PSDs. But quick and dirty, I'll do it to the desktop. And say OK to this. Okay, so now you have a PSD that is editable, and you can bring your PSD into Premiere Pro, but the other option you have when you're done and ready to edit is to export quick export as PNG or export as, which is going to give you more file types. So quick export as PNG is pretty self-explanatory, quick export, but export as gives you various choices. What file type, PNG, JPEG, or GIF. It will let you quickly make an adjustment here. So if you were working big the whole time and you colorized everything and just at the very end want to drop things down to 50%, you can do that. You can just basically reset the size is the main thing here. And you can export this, which this PNG will be just perfect to drop into Premiere Pro, which we'll do next. Okay, there we have a look at some of the key tools in Photoshop that you'll need for your slideshow project. There's a lot more in the LinkedIn library. I've just tried to give you some highlights of the things that I think are most useful for our project. And then there's more beyond that just to play in Photoshop and make cool things. Unfortunately, we won't be doing a huge amount of that in our class, but I do encourage you to play with it.